Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's a gold digger after she tried to divorce my brother for his inheritance? I, 43 male, have an older brother, Greg, 45 male, and a younger sister, Hannah, 38 female. Our family's never been perfect, but we've always stuck together through thick and thin. That is, until recently. Our father passed away a couple of years ago, and he left behind a sizable inheritance. He wasn't a billionaire or anything, but the estate was enough to make a difference for each of us. Greg, being the eldest, got the biggest share of the inheritance, but we all got something. It was a fair distribution. Our father was clear about it before he passed. He wanted us to have it, but he was adamant that the money shouldn't be a point of conflict. Greg's always been the more responsible one. He worked hard in his career, invested wisely, and made sure he had a good life. He's also married to Lisa, 42 female, who's a lovely woman. They've been together for 10 years and have 2 kids. Everything seemed good on the surface, until recently. Greg and Lisa had been having some issues in their marriage, which, as far as I knew, was mostly about everyday stress. They've had ups and downs like any couple, but I didn't think it was anything that couldn't be worked through. That is, until Hannah dropped the beam shell at a family dinner. We were all gathered at my place for dinner, just catching up like we usually do. Everything was normal at first, but then Hannah made an offhand comment that threw me completely off guard. So, I talked to Lisa yesterday, she said, sipping her wine. She's not sure how much longer she can stay married to Greg, especially now that she knows what he's really planning to do with the inheritance. My eyes narrowed. What do you mean, what he's planning to do? The inheritance was already split fairly. What's going on? Hannah didn't look at me at first, but when she did, there was a strange glint in her eyes. Lisa thinks Greg might be trying to keep all of it. She's worried that if they divorce, he's going to hide it, and she'll never see any of it. I was stunned. What? You've got to be kidding me. But Hannah wasn't joking. Lisa's worried he's going to change the will, move the money around, and keep her out of it. And honestly, after everything that's been happening, I can't blame her for being suspicious. I stared at her for a long moment. You're telling me Lisa is retending a divorce over an inheritance? That doesn't sound like Greg at all. Hannah shrugged. You know how men are. Once they get money, they get greedy. I'm just saying, Lisa is smart to think about her options. I was furious. Are you seriously suggesting that Greg is going to screw over his wife and kids over money? That's not who he is. Hannah didn't back down. Look, I'm just telling you what Lisa said. She feels like Greg is going to take advantage of her if they split, and that the inheritance will be part of it. At this point, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Hannah, what the hell are you talking about? You're basically calling Lisa a gold digger. You're saying she's plotting to take Greg's money after he's worked his whole life for it, and that she's willing to divorce him over it? I'm sorry, but that's just not right. Greg would never do that. Hannah's face reddened. It's not about Greg. It's about what's fair. Why shouldn't Lisa get her fair share if they divorce? If Greg's really got all this money, then she deserves it too. I stared at her in disbelief. Are you seriously defending her like this? You're acting like she's entitled to his inheritance just because they're married. That's not how it works. The inheritance was for Greg and his kids. Lisa doesn't have any right to it. And for you to even entertain the idea of Greg losing everything to her just because she wants more is ridiculous. Hannah's voice got sharper. You're just as bad as Greg. You've always sided with him. Maybe you don't see it, but I do. He's been hiding things from all of us, and now he's using this inheritance to manipulate the family. I couldn't hold back anymore. You know what, Hannah? You're the one who's acting like a gold digger here. You're trying to stir up drama and make this about money when it's not. You're just trying to find a way to get a piece of Greg's inheritance for yourself. You've been bitter about him getting more, haven't you? Her face went pale. That's not true. It is, I said, my voice cold. I've known you for years, Hannah. You've always had an issue with how much Greg has. You think because he's the eldest, he's entitled to everything. Well, guess what? That inheritance is his, and Lisa has no right to it. If she's still pretending divorce for money, then she's no better than you're making Greg out to be. Hannah didn't respond for a long time, and the room was tense. Eventually, she stood up and left, and I haven't spoken to her much since. The whole family has been divided on this. Greg called me to thank me for standing up for him, but I'm still furious at Hannah. Now I'm starting to feel guilty because she's reached out, asking if I can help smooth things over with Lisa and Greg. Am I the a-hole for calling my sister a gold digger and refusing to support her stance on inheritance?